They say America is the land of opportunity. But what if that opportunity stops at the state line? Picture this. You're pulled over for a broken taillight, and the next thing you know, you're facing deportation. Sound extreme? It's real, and it's happening right now in parts of the U.S. Where you live could mean the difference between safety and surveillance. A lot has transpired across the globe recently, and today, we delve into a critical issue unfolding within the United States. Why are some states doubling down on crackdowns, while others stay silent? Why are new laws popping up that feel more like warnings than rules? We'll explore the situation and offer conclusions at the end of our discussion. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. Your support is incredibly important for helping us grow and continue bringing you this content. Buckle up, because if you're undocumented, these 7 states might just be the most dangerous places to call home. Please watch until the very end, as we will summarize the key takeaways and offer final thoughts. Number 10. Texas. Think you're safe just because you've lived here for years? Think again. In this state, even a simple walk to the grocery store could land you behind bars if you don't have the right papers. We're talking about Texas, where the immigration enforcement surge has gone full throttle. In 2023, they passed Senate Bill 4, giving state officers the power to arrest and deport undocumented immigrants. Not immigration and customs enforcement, mind you, but local cops. And if that wasn't enough, you could face up to 20 years in prison just for re-entering the state after deportation. Sounds wild, right? But guess what? This isn't a federal law. It's the state taking matters into its own hands. And while lawsuits are flying, the fear is already here. Could your next traffic stop turn into a one-way trip out of the country? If you're undocumented in Texas, that answer might be yes. And the consequences? Absolutely brutal. Number 9. Oklahoma. You think things couldn't get worse? Wait until you hear about this next place. Just one state over from Texas, Oklahoma is setting its own trap, and it's working. In 2024, lawmakers passed a bill that makes it a state crime to be in Oklahoma illegally. Not only could you face 2 years in prison, but after that, you've got 72 hours to get out or risk being arrested again. That's not just harsh, it's calculated. And what if you're pulled over for a busted headlight? That could be enough. You'd be shocked how fast someone can go from roadside to jail cell. The law even says local police must enforce it, turning everyday officers into immigration agents. Sound extreme? It is. And if you think no one's getting caught, think again. The state's already made dozens of arrests, and it's just getting started. Number 8. Iowa. It starts off calm. Small towns, quiet roads, friendly faces. But don't let the calm fool you. This place is quietly turning into one of the harshest states for undocumented immigrants. We're talking about Iowa, a state that recently decided to take justice into its own hands. Inspired by Texas's controversial Senate Bill 4, Iowa passed a bill in early 2024 that effectively makes it illegal to be undocumented within state borders. You'd be shocked how quickly this law came together, signed, sealed, and ready for enforcement. And here's the kicker. Even if you're not committing any crimes, just being undocumented is enough to land you behind bars. The law allows local officers to question and detain anyone they suspect isn't supposed to be here. Sound vague? That's the point. A traffic stop, a routine ID check, or even walking through the wrong neighborhood could spiral into a full-blown legal nightmare. But guess what? It gets worse. If you're caught and deported, re-entering the state could now lead to felony charges. And the penalties? We're talking years in prison, not months. And this isn't just a scare tactic. Authorities in Iowa have already begun enforcing the law, with multiple arrests and deportations reported just weeks after the bill went into effect. Families are being torn apart, fast. Children left behind, homes abandoned overnight, and communities living in constant fear. And for those thinking, it can't happen to me, ask yourself this. What if one wrong turn, one broken taillight, one random ID check changed everything? Iowa isn't just following in Texas's footsteps. It's going even further, with less media coverage and less resistance. That makes it even more dangerous. The scariest laws are the quiet ones, the ones people don't notice until it's too late. And in Iowa, that silence is deadly. We encourage you to share your thoughts. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments below. Number 7. Florida. Sunshine, beaches, and some of the harshest immigration laws in the country. Welcome to Florida, where the paradise ends fast if you're undocumented. In March 2025, this state ramped things up like never before. New legislation signed into law by Governor Ron DeSantis now punishes undocumented immigrants even harder if they're caught committing crimes, even nonviolent ones. But here's what's wild. Driving without a license in Florida can now lead to longer jail time just because of your immigration status. And it's not just the laws, it's the system behind them. Florida has one of the highest deportation rates in the country, with thousands of families separated in the last year alone. Immigration and customs enforcement raids have become more frequent, more aggressive, and more public. Hospitals are even required to ask for your immigration status upon admission. Yes, you heard that right. Getting medical help could become a risk. And what if you're a child of undocumented parents? Schools have begun implementing policies to report undocumented guardians during enrollment processes. The fear is real, and it's creeping into every corner of life, from work to school to healthcare. And the result? Communities are shrinking, families are fleeing to nearby states. Some are even considering leaving the U.S. altogether. You'd be shocked to see how quickly things changed here. Just 5 years ago, many parts of Florida were considered safe havens. Today, they're trap zones. And guess what? It's only going to get tougher. Lawmakers are already pushing for even stricter measures, including mandatory immigration checks at public job sites and increased funding for local cooperation with ICE. So ask yourself this: what happens when your doctor, your child's teacher, or your boss becomes a threat? What happens when normal life becomes impossible? In Florida, it's already happening, and the clock is ticking. Number 6. Georgia. What if every move you made, every school drop-off, every clock in at work, every trip to the store felt like a countdown? Not because you're breaking the law, but because you simply exist without the right papers. That's the chilling reality in Georgia, where being undocumented isn't just difficult, it's a daily gamble. In 2024, Georgia intensified its already tough stance with a new wave of laws empowering local police to detain and turn over anyone suspected of being in the U.S. illegally, even without a warrant. And it's not just about ICE anymore. This law encourages counties to enforce federal immigration codes as local law, effectively turning small-town sheriffs into border agents. You'd be shocked at how quickly someone's life can unravel here. Even a minor infraction, like not having a driver's license, can kickstart a process that ends in deportation. And guess what? Georgia has a track record. The state ranked among the top 5 in the country for 287G agreements, a program that gives local law enforcement direct power to act as immigration officers. That means you don't need to break a serious law. You just need to look suspicious. And here's something most people don't know. Georgia is home to one of the largest immigrant detention centers in the U.S., the Stewart Detention Center. Critics call it a black hole. Once you're in, getting out feels impossible. And for those living in rural areas, the fear is constant. No big city protections, no legal safety nets, just silence and survival. Even children aren't spared. Undocumented parents fear sending their kids to school. Why? Because state-level data sharing has increased. One wrong document submitted, one school administrator with too many questions, and boom, families are split. Number 5. Alabama. You want to talk about going all in? Then you need to hear what's happening in Alabama, where immigration enforcement isn't just aggressive, it's relentless. Long before some of the newer crackdowns, this state already had a reputation. And now in 2025, it's making a comeback, and not in a good way. In fact, Alabama's House Bill 56 law, once dubbed the toughest immigration law in the nation, is quietly being revived. Parts of it were struck down by courts years ago, but lawmakers have been working overtime to bring them back, with new, legally refined versions. One recent bill forces employers to verify immigration status, not just when hiring, but also during random audits. So, even if you've had your job for years, you're still at risk of being reported and fired. And it doesn't stop there. The state now encourages landlords to report undocumented tenants, meaning your home is no longer safe either. One knock at the door, one anonymous tip, and you could be facing deportation proceedings before you finish your morning coffee. You'd be shocked how many people have already left the state voluntarily. Families packing up overnight, kids pulled from school, entire communities vanishing. And guess what? That's exactly what some politicians here want. They've made it clear. Alabama isn't interested in welcoming immigrants. It's interested in driving them out. Hospitals are even under pressure to report if patients lack documentation. Imagine needing urgent care, but thinking twice because your name might end up in the system. Number 4. Arizona. Ever felt like the law is staring at you the moment you step outside? In Arizona, it doesn't just stare. It follows, questions, and sometimes even detains. This isn't a new game here. For years, Arizona has been ground zero for some of the most controversial immigration laws in American history. And guess what? In 2025, it's back on the front line. You've probably heard of Senate Bill 1070, the infamous Show Me Your Papers law. It made headlines back in 2010, allowing police to stop anyone they suspected of being undocumented. Critics called it racial profiling. Supporters called it necessary. But here's the thing. That law never truly went away. Parts of it are still in effect today. And under new state leadership, enforcement has ramped up again. Today, Arizona has extended powers to county sheriffs, especially in places like Maricopa County. These departments now collaborate heavily with federal immigration agents, resulting in record-breaking deportations this year alone. One local sheriff even bragged on air that their department was now twice as effective at identifying and removing undocumented individuals, many for minor violations like traffic stops or expired tags. You'd be shocked how fast a simple routine stop turns into a life-changing nightmare. And here's what most don't know. Arizona now also has some of the strictest anti-sanctuary laws. That means cities aren't even allowed to create safe zones. No sanctuary policies, no protections, no wiggle room. Even school districts that try to protect their undocumented students have been hit with threats of state funding cuts. Even private citizens are getting involved. Arizona's new Community Watch Incentive program gives people tax credits for reporting individuals they suspect are undocumented. Sounds like a scene out of a dystopian movie, right? But this is reality. And think about the environment. It's already hostile enough. Scorching heat, unforgiving deserts, and now laws that make you afraid to even walk outside. Who's really surviving here? Conclusion. So, what can we conclude from this unsettling tour across America? The landscape for undocumented immigrants is becoming increasingly perilous, shaped not by a unified federal stance, but by a patchwork of aggressive state laws. From Texas's Senate Bill 4 empowering local police, to Oklahoma's harsh residency crime, Iowa's quiet expansion of enforcement, Florida's multi-pronged pressure points, Georgia's deep-rooted enforcement history, Alabama's revival of stringent measures, and Arizona's infamous legacy now re-energized, a clear pattern emerges. These states, often citing border security or rule of law, are creating environments where fear is a constant companion for undocumented individuals and their families. Routine activities, driving, working, going to school, seeking medical help, even living in your own home, become fraught with risk. Minor infractions can trigger deportation proceedings. Local law enforcement is increasingly tasked with immigration duties, blurring lines and intensifying surveillance. Sanctuary policies are being dismantled, and even community organizations and essential services like hospitals and schools are being drawn into the enforcement web. The human cost is immense. Families are separated, communities are shrinking as people flee, and the very fabric of daily life is strained under constant anxiety. While legal challenges persist against many of these laws, the immediate reality on the ground in these 7 states is one of heightened danger and diminished opportunity for those without legal status. The land of opportunity narrative clashes sharply with the lived experience in these specific locations, where the state line increasingly represents a hard stop for safety and security. Thank you for joining us on this important discussion. Please remember to subscribe and like the video if you found this information valuable. Your engagement helps our channel immensely.